Have you ever watched two people fall apart in slow motion and felt absolutely helpless about it? That sinking feeling when your favorite on-screen couple suddenly stops posting each other, stops showing up at the same events, and basically acts like the other person doesn't exist. Well, buckle up because the Maurice, Sam and Sonia Uche situation was exactly that, except multiplied by 1,000 and served with a side of Nigerian drama that could feed an entire village. 1 minute, these two were the definition of couple goals, making singles everywhere question why their own love lives looked like a Nollywood tragedy, and the next minute, silence. Dead silence. The kind of silence that makes you refresh your Instagram feed 17 times thinking maybe your phone is broken. But it wasn't your phone. It was real. And when Zubie Michael finally opened his mouth to address it, the entire internet stopped scrolling, stopped breathing, and just listened. What came out of his mouth wasn't just tea, it was an entire 5-course meal with dessert included. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came when fans started noticing the distance. You know how you can feel when something is off even before anyone says anything. That was the vibe. Maurice and Sonia, who used to be inseparable both on and off screen, suddenly became like distant cousins at a family reunion who only wave at each other from across the room. They stopped appearing together at movie premieres, at industry events, at those random Nollywood hangouts where everyone shows up dressed to kill. Their social media pages, which used to be filled with cute couple photos, romantic captions, and enough love emojis to make you nauseous, became barren wastelands. No tags. No likes. No comments. Nothing. Fans were confused, bloggers were in overdrive trying to figure out what happened, and the rumor mill was working overtime like a generator during a Nigerian power outage. People started creating theories wider than a Nollywood movie plot. Some said Maurice had cheated. Others claimed Sonia had found someone richer. A few even suggested it was all a publicity stunt. But nobody knew for sure, and that uncertainty was driving everyone absolutely crazy. Then came the interviews with Uche Nancy, Sonia's mother and a respected figure in Nollywood. If you've ever watched someone try to dodge a question they absolutely do not want to answer, you know the look. That uncomfortable shifting in the seat, the forced smile, the way their eyes dart around looking for an escape route. That was Uche Nancy every single time an interviewer dared to bring up Maurice and Sonia's relationship. She would give vague answers, change the subject faster than you can say jollof rice, or suddenly remember she had somewhere urgent to be. It was painfully obvious that something had gone down, something serious enough that even talking about it made her visibly tense. Industry insiders who had worked with her said she seemed genuinely troubled by the whole situation, like a mother watching her daughter go through heartbreak and being completely powerless to fix it. The way she handled those questions told fans everything they needed to know. Whatever happened between Maurice and Sonia wasn't just a small disagreement that could be solved over drinks and apologies. This was deep, messy, and probably painful for everyone involved. Just when everyone thought the silence would continue forever, Zubie Michael decided to break it in the most spectacular way possible. During an interview that was supposed to be about his latest project, the interviewer casually asked about Maurice and Sonia. Most celebrities would have dodged the question, given a diplomatic answer, and moved on. But Zubie looked straight into the camera and said something that would be quoted, screenshotted, and shared across every social media platform for weeks. Make we know they pretend, sometimes people outgrow each other. The room went silent. The interviewer's jaw probably hit the floor. And across Nigeria, millions of people collectively gasped. Did Zubie Michael just confirm the breakup? Was this man really out here spilling tea that wasn't even his to spill? The internet immediately went into meltdown mode. Twitter became a war zone, Instagram comment sections exploded, and TikTok creators started making reaction videos faster than you could say, delete this. Everyone had an opinion, and most of those opinions were shock mixed with a healthy dose of I knew it all along smugness. But Zubie wasn't done. He went deeper, explaining that Maurice and Sonia were both genuinely good people who unfortunately suffered from a toxic combination of misunderstanding, miscommunication, intense pressure from fans, and ego clashes that would make a boxing match look friendly. He painted a picture of two youngsters trying to navigate a relationship under the harshest spotlight imaginable, with millions of eyes watching their every move, analyzing every photo, dissecting every caption, and creating narratives that may or may not have been true. According to Zubby, the relationship didn't end because someone did something terrible or unforgivable. It ended because two people who cared about each other couldn't figure out how to make it work when the world was constantly demanding perfection from them. He made it clear that this wasn't a villain and victim situation. There were no bad guys here, just two humans dealing with very human problems in a very inhuman environment where privacy is a luxury and everyone feels entitled to know every detail of your personal life. What made Zubby's revelation even more credible was his insider knowledge. He casually mentioned that he knew personal details about their relationship because he had worked closely with both Maurice and Sonia on multiple projects. This wasn't gossip from a random blogger or speculation from a fan account. This was coming from someone who had spent time on set with them, who had witnessed their interactions behind the scenes, who had probably seen the good times and the not so good times. Sources close to the situation later revealed that Zubby had actually tried to play peacemaker earlier in the year when cracks started showing in the relationship. Apparently, he sat down with both of them separately, listened to their grievances, and tried to help them find common ground. But as anyone who has ever tried to save a sinking relationship knows, sometimes love and good intentions aren't enough when fundamental issues remain unresolved. The fact that Zubby had tried to mediate and still felt compelled to speak publicly about it suggested that things had deteriorated beyond the point of private resolution. One of the biggest issues Zubby highlighted was the suffocating pressure from fans and the toxic shipping culture that has taken over social media. Shipping culture, for those who don't know, is when fans decide two people should be together and then proceed to push that narrative relentlessly, regardless of what the actual people involved want or feel. Maurice and Sonia had become victims of intense shipping. Fans constantly bombarded them with marriage questions, created wedding photo edits without permission, compared them to other celebrity couples, and basically treated them like characters in a romance novel rather than real people with real feelings. Every post was analyzed for relationship clues. Every absence was questioned. Every interaction with someone else sparked jealousy and accusations. It was exhausting just watching it from the outside, so you can only imagine how suffocating it must have been for them to actually live through it. The pressure to maintain a perfect public image while dealing with private struggles must have been absolutely crushing. Sonia herself had hinted at this pressure in an earlier post that most people probably scrolled past without giving it much thought. She wrote, "People expect you to live a movie even when the cameras are off." At the time, it seemed like a general observation about celebrity life, but looking back with the context of everything that happened, it was clearly a cry for help, a subtle way of saying that the line between her real life and real life had become dangerously blurred. Fans wanted the fairy tale to continue forever, but real relationships don't work like movies. There's no perfect script, no dramatic music playing during emotional moments, no guaranteed happy ending. Real relationships require work, compromise, understanding, and sometimes they still don't work out despite everyone's best efforts. But try explaining that to fans who have invested emotionally in your relationship and feel personally betrayed when it doesn't go the way they imagined. Maurice's response to all the speculation was characteristically cryptic. He posted on his Instagram story, "Silence is not weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom." Those 9 words said everything and nothing at the same time. Fans immediately interpreted it as his way of addressing the breakup rumors without actually addressing them. Some praised him for taking the high road and not engaging in public drama. Others criticized him for being vague and not giving people the closure they desperately wanted. But Maurice's approach made sense when you think about it. What was he supposed to do? Write a 5-page explanation about his failed relationship for public consumption? Break down every argument, every disappointment, every moment that led to the end? That's not wisdom, that's emotional exhibitionism. His silence wasn't about hiding or being weak. It was about protecting what little privacy he had left and refusing to turn his pain into entertainment for strangers on the internet. Sonia's response was equally indirect but spiritually charged. She posted a simple caption, "Grace never leaves me." To the casual observer, it might have seemed like just another religious post, the kind that floods Nigerian social media every Sunday morning. But those who understood the context knew this was her way of saying she was okay, that despite everything that had happened, she was still standing, still blessed, still moving forward. It was a declaration of resilience wrapped in faith, a reminder to herself and to everyone watching that her identity and worth weren't tied to a relationship status. The post garnered thousands of supportive comments from fans who admired her strength and from women who had gone through similar situations and understood the quiet courage it takes to rebuild yourself after a public heartbreak. Zubie made sure to emphasize one crucial point that often gets lost in celebrity breakup discussions: this wasn't about cheating. He was very clear about that, probably because he knew the rumor mill would immediately jump to infidelity as the explanation. According to him, the relationship ended because of ego, personality differences, and emotional imbalance. This might sound like vague corporate breakup terms, but they are actually incredibly common reasons why relationships fail. Ego can destroy even the strongest bond when neither person is willing to admit they are wrong or apologize first. Personality differences that seem cute and complementary at the beginning can become major sources of conflict as the relationship matures. An emotional imbalance, where one person is giving significantly more than the other or where emotional needs aren't being met equally, creates resentment that builds over time until the foundation crumbles. These are real, valid, difficult issues that don't make for dramatic headlines but are actually more honest than most celebrity breakup explanations. In defending Maurice, Zubie painted a picture of a focused, misunderstood young man who was often judged unfairly by people who didn't really know him. He suggested that Maurice's quieter personality and serious demeanor were sometimes misinterpreted as coldness or lack of interest, when in reality, that was just who he was. Not everyone expresses love the same way. Some people are naturally more reserved, more internal, more thoughtful in their approach to relationships. That doesn't make them bad partners, it just makes them different. But in the age of social media where grand gestures and public declarations of love are expected and rewarded, quieter forms of affection often go unnoticed or unappreciated. Zubie's defense of Maurice felt genuine, like he was trying to correct a narrative that had painted Maurice as the villain when the truth was far more nuanced. But Zubie didn't let fans and bloggers off the hook either. He directly blamed them for adding unnecessary pressure that accelerated the relationship's demise. He called out the constant scrutiny, the invasive questions, the manufactured drama, the clickbait headlines that prioritized engagement over accuracy or human decency. Bloggers had turned Maurice and Sonia's relationship into content, something to be monetized and exploited for views and likes. Every rumor was amplified, every small disagreement was blown out of proportion, every moment of privacy was invaded by cameras and questions. Fans, despite claiming to love and support them, had contributed to the toxic environment by demanding more access, more content, more proof of their relationship's validity. Zubie's words were a wake-up call about the dark side of celebrity worship and the real human cost of our entertainment culture. Insiders from Uche Nancy's production sets later confirmed what many had suspected: tension had been building for months before the public silence began. People who worked with Maurice and Sonia noticed subtle changes in their dynamic. The easy affection that used to be visible on set became strained. The private conversations became less frequent. The energy between them shifted from warm to awkward to almost non-existent. These weren't sudden changes but gradual ones, the kind that happen when two people are slowly growing apart but neither wants to admit it or address it directly. By the time the public noticed something was wrong, those close to them had already watched the relationship deteriorate in real time, probably hoping against hope that they would find a way to fix things before it became irreversible. Then Zubie dropped what might have been the biggest bombshell of the entire interview: career competition may have contributed to the separation. This revelation opened up a whole new dimension to the story because it touched on something rarely discussed openly in Nollywood relationships. When both partners are rising stars in the same industry, competing for the same roles, being compared by the same fans and critics, jealousy and insecurity can creep in even when both people genuinely want the best for each other. Maybe Maurice got a role Sonia wanted. Maybe Sonia's star rose faster and brighter, creating an uncomfortable dynamic. Maybe there were moments when celebrating each other's success felt difficult because it highlighted their own perceived failures or setbacks. Career competition in a relationship is like a slow-acting poison. It starts small, almost unnoticeable, but it gradually erodes the foundation of support and partnership that relationships need to survive. Following Zubie's interview, fans went into full detective mode, rewatching old videos and analyzing past interactions with fresh eyes. They found moments they had missed before, subtle signs of disconnect, forced smiles, body language that suggested distance rather than intimacy. Comment sections became amateur psychology sessions where everyone had a theory about when exactly things went wrong. Some pointed to a particular interview where Maurice seemed distracted. Others highlighted a video where Sonia's laughter didn't quite reach her eyes. It was fascinating and slightly disturbing how much people could construct from fragments of public appearances, creating entire narratives from seconds of footage. This obsessive analysis proved Zubie's point about pressure. Maurice and Sonia couldn't have a single off day, a single moment of natural human emotion, without it being dissected and turned into evidence of relationship problems. Zubie's observation about two rising stars dating was particularly insightful. He said that when you have two ambitious, talented people building careers in the same competitive space, small amounts of envy and ego almost inevitably enter the relationship. It's not that either person is bad or intentionally sabotaging the other. It's that human emotions are complex, and it's possible to genuinely love someone while simultaneously feeling threatened by their success. It's possible to celebrate their wins publicly while privately struggling with feelings of inadequacy. It's possible to be supportive on the surface while dealing with resentment underneath. These contradictions don't make someone a terrible person. They make someone human. But relationships require honest communication about these difficult feelings, and when ego prevents that honesty, problems grow in the silence. The interview didn't just trend, it dominated every social media platform for days. News outlets picked it up, entertainment shows discussed it endlessly, and random people who had never even watched a Nollywood movie suddenly had strong opinions about Maurice and Sonia's relationship. The reactions were mixed and passionate. Some people praised Zubie for his honesty and for providing much-needed context. Others criticized him for speaking on someone else's relationship, arguing that he should have let Maurice and Sonia tell their own story in their own time. A few accused him of seeking attention or trying to insert himself into drama that didn't concern him. But regardless of how people felt about his decision to speak out, nobody could deny that his words had shifted the conversation from baseless speculation to something more thoughtful and nuanced. Uche Nancy's cryptic post added fuel to the already raging fire. She wrote, "Sometimes separation is protection," and fans lost whatever remained of their collective minds. Was she confirming the breakup? Was she suggesting that Maurice and Sonia separating was actually the best thing for both of them? Was she speaking from personal experience or just sharing general wisdom? The post was vague enough to mean almost anything, but specific enough to feel deeply connected to the situation everyone was discussing. Fans took it as the closest thing to official confirmation they were going to get, even though technically, Uche Nancy hadn't mentioned Maurice and Sonia by name. Her words suggested that sometimes the kindest thing people can do for each other is let go, even when it hurts, even when it looks like failure from the outside. Brian Okwara's reaction, though minimal, managed to stir up even more debate. He simply reacted to a post about the situation with a thoughtful emoji, the kind that suggests deep contemplation without revealing actual thoughts. But because this is social media where nothing is ever simple, that single emoji sparked hundreds of comments and theories. Did Brian know something the rest of the world didn't? Was he Team Maurice or Team Sonia? Was his thoughtful emoji expressing sympathy, agreement, surprise, or something else entirely? The fact that people could write entire paragraphs analyzing a single emoji shows just how invested everyone had become in this narrative. It also highlighted the absurdity of celebrity culture where even the smallest gesture from a tangentially related person becomes newsworthy of discussion and debate. Social media exploded with hashtags that trended for days. Maurice and Sonia, Zubie speaks, Nollywood breakup, and various other tags flooded timelines, bringing together fans, critics, gossip enthusiasts, and random observers who just enjoyed drama. The hashtags became gathering places for people to share their theories, express their disappointment, defend their favorite between Maurice and Sonia, or simply commiserate about how this breakup had personally affected them despite having no personal connection to either party. It was a collective mourning process for a relationship that technically wasn't anyone's business but had somehow become everyone's concern. The hashtags represented modern fandom at its most intense, where the line between genuine emotional investment and entertainment consumption becomes completely blurred. TikTok creators had an absolute field day with the material. Emotional edits appeared by the hundreds, mixing romantic scenes of Maurice and Sonia from their movies with audio of Zubie's interview. These edits were masterfully done, using slow motion, dramatic music, and perfect timing to create mini-movies that made people cry over a relationship they had never been part of. Some creators added text overlays with heartbreaking quotes about love and loss. Others used trending sounds to make the videos even more shareable. A few brave souls even created comedic parodies, because if there's one thing Nigerians excel at, it's finding humor in absolutely any situation, no matter how serious. These TikToks collectively garnered millions of views, spreading the story far beyond Nollywood's usual audience and turning Maurice and Sonia's breakup into a cultural moment that transcended their specific fanbase. Interestingly, proof emerged that there was no bad blood between Sonia and Zubby despite his public revelations. They were spotted together on a movie set, smiling, chatting comfortably, and working together professionally. This sighting was important because it countered the narrative some people were trying to build that Zubby had betrayed Sonia's trust by speaking publicly. If Sonia held any resentment toward him, she certainly wasn't showing it. Their comfortable interaction suggested that Zubby's interview, while public, might have actually been done with some level of understanding or approval from the people involved. Or maybe Sonia simply understood that Zubby had spoken from a place of genuine concern rather than malice, and she appreciated his attempt to provide context and shut down more harmful rumors that were circulating. Sources later revealed something beautiful that Zubby had privately told Sonia during this difficult time. He said, "You deserve peace. Don't let noise steal your light." Those words, shared in a quiet moment away from cameras and microphones, revealed the kind of friend Zubby actually was. Not someone seeking attention or trying to insert himself into drama, but someone genuinely concerned about the well-being of people he cared about. His private encouragement to Sonia showed that his public statements weren't about entertainment or relevance. They were about trying to shift a narrative that had become toxic and harmful. He could see how the constant speculation and judgment were affecting Sonia, and he wanted her to know that her worth, her talent, her light had nothing to do with her relationship status or what strangers on the internet thought about her personal life. Beyond the immediate drama and headlines, several deeper lessons emerged from this entire situation. First, it highlighted how social media has fundamentally changed the nature of celebrity relationships, creating an environment where privacy is nearly impossible and every relationship exists under a microscope of millions of observers who feel entitled to access and opinions. Second, it demonstrated the destructive power of shipping culture, where fans project their fantasies onto real people and then feel betrayed when reality doesn't match their imagination. Third, it exposed the particular challenges faced by couples working in the same competitive industry, where professional ambition can complicate personal relationships in ways that are difficult to navigate. Fourth, it showed how ego and inability to communicate openly can destroy relationships that might otherwise have been saved. The situation also revealed something about our collective psychology as social media users and entertainment consumers. We claim to want celebrities to be authentic and real, but when they show vulnerability or when their relationships fail, we often respond with judgment rather than empathy. We create impossible standards, demanding both perfection and relatability, accessibility and mystery. We turn people's lives into content for our consumption and then act surprised when they struggle under the weight of our attention. Maurice and Sonia's situation became a mirror reflecting back our own complicated relationship with celebrity culture, fame, and the entertainment we demand from public figures. Another important revelation was about the role of family in Nollywood relationships, particularly the influence of powerful family members like Uche Nancy. While Western media often focuses exclusively on the couple, Nollywood relationships exist within complex family dynamics where mothers, siblings, and extended family members have significant influence and investment. Uche Nancy's visible discomfort when discussing the relationship wasn't just about being protective. It reflected the Nigerian cultural context where relationships are not just between two individuals but between two families, where breakups affect entire networks of people, where family approval and involvement are expected rather than optional. Understanding this context added another layer to why the breakup was handled the way it was. The career competition angle that Zubby mentioned opened up important conversations about ambition, success, and relationships in creative industries. When both partners are talented and ambitious, how do you celebrate your own success without making your partner feel diminished? How do you support their wins when you're struggling with your own setbacks? How do you navigate an industry where you're constantly compared, where fans pick favorites, where one person's rise can inadvertently highlight the other's slower progress? These are questions without easy answers, but they are conversations that need to happen more openly in industries where couples often work in the same space and compete for the same opportunities. The cryptic social media posts from both Maurice and Sonia revealed another truth about modern relationships. Sometimes public statements serve multiple purposes simultaneously. They are messages to fans, explanations without explaining, ways of controlling the narrative without engaging in messy details, and sometimes, they are messages to each other, communication happening publicly because private channels have broken down. Maurice's "silence is wisdom" and Sonia's "grace never leaves me" weren't just random inspirational quotes. They were carefully chosen words meant to convey specific messages to specific audiences while maintaining plausible deniability about their true meaning. The emotional investment fans showed, creating edits and hashtags and spending hours discussing every detail, speaks to a fundamental human need for love stories, for romance, for happy endings. Maurice and Sonia represented something aspirational for many people. They showed that love could exist in a challenging industry, that beautiful relationships were possible, that happy endings happen in real life, not just in movies. When that narrative crumbled, people weren't just disappointed in the couple. They were disappointed in the loss of hope that the relationship represented. That's why the reaction was so intense, so emotional, so seemingly disproportionate to what was essentially a breakup between two people most fans had never met. The insider information about Zubie's mediation attempt earlier in the year added a tragic dimension to the story. It suggested that people had tried to save this relationship, that it didn't end from lack of effort or care, but simply because sometimes trying isn't enough. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes even with mediation, good intentions, and genuine desire to make things work, fundamental incompatibilities or timing issues or external pressures become insurmountable. Zubie's failed mediation represented the heartbreaking reality that not all relationships can or should be saved, even when good people are genuinely trying their best. The whole saga also highlighted the double-edged sword of Nollywood fame. The same platform that gives actors visibility, opportunities, and financial success also subjects them to relentless scrutiny, unrealistic expectations, and constant invasion of privacy. Maurice and Sonia gained fans and fame through their on-screen chemistry, but that same chemistry created expectations for their off-screen relationship that may have added pressure they weren't equipped to handle. They became prisoners of their own success in a way, where the public persona they had created became impossible to maintain privately. Looking at the timeline of events, from the initial silence to Zubie's interview to the cryptic post to the final confirmations, what emerges is a story about modern celebrity culture, the cost of fame, the challenge of maintaining authentic relationships in inauthentic environments, and the very human struggle to balance personal happiness with public expectations. It's a story about two young people trying to navigate love and career and ambition and ego while millions of people watched, judged, commented, and demanded access to their most private moments. So what can we learn from the Maurice Sam and Sonia Uche situation beyond the gossip and drama? We can learn that celebrities are human beings who deserve privacy and compassion even when they choose public careers. We can learn that relationships are complex and rarely have simple explanations or clear villains. We can learn that the pressure we put on celebrity couples through our constant attention and expectations can actually contribute to their downfall. We can learn that sometimes separation really is protection, that endings aren't always failures, and that two good people can simply be wrong for each other without anyone being to blame. We can learn to consume celebrity content more consciously, to engage with their work without demanding ownership of their personal lives, to support without suffocating, to be curious without being invasive. The Maurice and Sonia breakup, as revealed through Zubie Michael's honest and sometimes brutal interview, holds up a mirror to all of us. It asks us to examine our relationship with celebrity culture, our expectations of public figures, our tendency to turn real people's pain into entertainment, and our role in creating the very pressure that destroys the relationships we claim to love. It challenges us to be better fans, more thoughtful consumers, more empathetic observers. It reminds us that behind every headline, every hashtag, every trending topic, there are real humans experiencing real emotions, dealing with real pain, trying to navigate real challenges in an environment that often feels anything but real. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Did Zubie Michael do the right thing by speaking out, or should he have let Maurice and Sonia handle their own narrative? Do you think celebrity couples can ever have truly private relationships, or is privacy the price of fame? Have you ever invested emotionally in a celebrity relationship only to feel personally affected when it ended? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this conversation is far from over. Share this article with your friends who followed this saga as closely as you did. Subscribe to stay updated on more Nollywood stories that go beyond the headlines to explore the real human experiences behind the fame. Let's keep this discussion going with honesty, empathy, and maybe a little less judgment than these two young stars received. After all, love is complicated enough without millions of people watching your every move. What would your relationship look like under that kind of microscope? Think about it.